Ra's al-Ayn. Ra's al-Ayn Arabic, Ra's al-Ayn, romanized, Ra's al-Ayn, Kurdish, Serê Kaniyê, classical Syriac, Rishon, romanized, Rēsaina, also spelled Ra's al-Ayn, is a city in al-Hasakah Governorate in northeastern Syria, on the Syria-Turkey border. One of the oldest cities in Upper Mesopotamia, the area of Ra's al-Ayn has been inhabited since at least the Neolithic age c. 8000 BC. Later known as the ancient Aramean city of Sikkan, the Roman city of Rhesaina, and the Byzantine city of Theodosiopolis, the town was destroyed and rebuilt several times, and in medieval times was the site of fierce battles between several Muslim dynasties. The 1921 Treaty of Ankara, Ra's al-Ayn became a divided city when its northern part, today's Ceylanpınar, was ceded to Turkey. With a population of 29,347 as of 2004. During the Syrian Civil War, the city became contested between Syrian opposition forces and People's Protection Units YPG from November 2012 until it was finally captured by the YPG in July 2013. It was later captured by the Turkish Armed Forces and the Syrian National Army. Etymology. The first mention of the town is in Akkadian Rēsaina during the reign of the Assyrian king Adad-nirari Roman II 911–891 BC. The Arabic name Ra's al-Ayn is a literal translation of the Akkadian name and has the same meaning, head of the spring, or idiomatically, hill of the spring, indicating a prominent mountain formation close to a well. The ancient Greek geographer Ptolemy d. 168 names the town Rhesaina. The town, as part of the Roman Empire, was called Rhesaina/Rhesaina. Another name was Theodosiopolis after Emperor Theodosius I, who enlarged the town in 380. The 11th century Arab geographer Mohammed al-Idrisi visited the town, mentioning its name as Ra's al-Ayn, and assigning it to Diyar Rabia, abode of the Arab tribe Rabia. He also described it as a big city with plenty of water, around 300 springs from which most of al-Khabar River starts. In addition to Ra's al-Ayn, medieval Arab Muslim sources refer to the town sometimes as Ain Werda. 19th century English sources refer to the town as Ra's Ayn, Ain Verde 1819, or Ra's al-Ayn 1868. The Kurdish name Serê Kaniyê also means head of the spring or head of the fountain, referring to water source areas. This name is probably a modern literal translation of the ancient Semitic name. Geography and climate. Ra's al-Ayn is located in the Upper Khabar Basin in the northern Syrian region of Jazira. The Khabar, largest tributary of the Euphrates, crosses the border from Turkey near the town of Tel Halaf, about 4 kilometers to 5 miles to the southwest of the city. The overground feeders, originating on the headwaters of the Karaka volcano in Şanlıurfa province, usually do not carry water in the summer, even though Turkey brings in water from the Ataturk reservoir to irrigate the region of Ceylanpınar. While more than 80% of the Upper Khabar's water originates in Turkey, this mostly comes as underground flow. So, rather than the overground streams, it is the giant karstic springs of the Ra's al-Ayn area that is considered the river's main perennial source. Ra's al-Ayn springs. Ra's al-Ayn has more than 100 natural springs. The most famous spring is Naba al-Kebrit, a hot spring with a very high mineral content, containing calcium, lithium, and radium. Water supply. The al-Ayn water pumping station, which distributes water to the Hasakah Governorate, is close to Ra's al-Ayn. Since the Turkish occupation began, the water supply has been interrupted several times. Previously, the station supplied about 460,000 people in al-Hasakah, Tel Tamer, and the al-Hol refugee camp, but not since the last interruption in March 2020, according to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. History. Neolithic and Ancient History. The area of Ra's al-Ayn was inhabited at least since the Neolithic age c. 8. 0 BC. Today's Ra's al-Ayn can be traced back to a settlement existing since c. 2000 BC, which in the early 1st millennium BC became the ancient city of Sikkan, part of the Aramean kingdom of Byzantine. The archaeological site is located on the southern edge of the mound Tel Fekhariyai, around which today's Ra's al-Ayn is built, just a few hundred meters south of the city center. During excavations in 1979, the famous Tel Fekhariyai bilingual inscription was found. The nearby town of Tel Halaf is also a former site of an Aramean city. Classical era. In later times, the town became known as Rhesaina and Theodosiopolis, the latter named after the Byzantine Emperor Theodosius I, who granted the settlement city rights. The latter name was also shared with the Armenian city of Karen, modern Erzurum, making it difficult to distinguish between them. The Sasanians destroyed the city twice in 578 and 580 before rebuilding it and constructing one of the 3 Sasanian academies in it, the other 2 being Gundashapur and Ctesiphon in it. Medieval history. The city fell to the Arabs in 640, who confiscated parts of the city which were abandoned by their inhabitants. The Byzantines raided the city in 942 and took many prisoners. In 1129, Crusader Jocelyn I managed to hold the city briefly, killing many of its Arab inhabitants. At its height, the city had a West Syrian bishopric and many monasteries. The city also contained 2 mosques and an East Syrian church and numerous schools, baths, and gardens. Ra's al-Ayn became contested between the Zengids, Ayyubids, and the Khwarezmians in the 12th and 13th centuries. It was sacked by Tamerlane at the end of the 14th century, ending its role as a major city in Al-Jazira. Ottoman history. In the 19th century, a colony of Muslim Chechen refugees fleeing the Russian conquest of the Caucasus were settled in the town by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans also built barracks and a fort for 1,000 soldiers to control and protect the refugees. During the Armenian genocide, Ra's al-Ayn was one of the major collecting points for deported Armenians. From 1915 on, 1.5 million Armenians were deported from all over Anatolia, many forced on death marches into the Syrian desert. Approximately 80,000 Armenians, mostly women and children, were slaughtered in desert death camps near Ra's al-Ayn, as well as the Deir ez-Zor camps further south. Modern history. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the 1921 Treaty of Ankara, Ra's al-Ayn became a divided city when its northern neighborhoods, today's Ceylanpınar, were ceded to Turkey. Today, the 2 cities are separated by a fenced border strip and the Berlin-Baghdad Railway on the Turkish side. The only border crossing is located in the western outskirts of Ra's al-Ayn. The town was first part of the French colonial empire's mandate for Syria and the Lebanon and, from 1946, the independent state of Syria. Civil War. During the Syrian Civil War, Ra's al-Ayn was engulfed by the long Battle of Ra's al-Ayn. In late November 2012, rebels of al-Nusra Front and the Free Syrian Army FSA attacked Syrian army positions, expelling them from the town. During the following 8 months, the Kurdish Majority People's Protection Units YPG, present from the outset, gradually entrenched its position and eventually formed an alliance with a non-jihadist FSA faction. On 21 July 2013, this alliance expelled the jihadists after a night of heavy fighting. The town was part of Rojava for the following 6 years, until it was attacked and captured by the Turkish army and allied Syrian National Army during the October 2019 Turkish offensive into northeastern Syria in the Second Battle of Ra's al-Ayn. After 11 days of clashes and siege, the Syrian Democratic Forces retreated from Ra's al-Ayn as part of a ceasefire agreement. Demographics. In 2004, the population was 29,347. The town has been described as having an Arab majority in addition to Kurdish, Assyrian, Armenian, and Syrian Turkmen minorities before the Turkish/SNA takeover in October 2019. War crimes committed since the Turkish occupation began have since caused an exodus of Kurds, Christians, and other minorities from the town. The Turkish government's resettling of mainly Arab Syrian refugees from other parts of Syria in Ra's al-Ayn has further altered the town's demographics.